Today is Friday, Parashat Ki Tavo. We're now in the month of Elul, a month that is known as a propitious time for Teshuvah. Teshuvah is when you realize that you've done something wrong, you've sinned, it was a transgression that was done in the past, and you just realize that a person should improve his ways, so you regret what you've done wrong, you abandon the sin, and you make a resolution for the future that you're not going to do that again. That's what Teshuvah is, coming back to Hashem, is reconnecting. And that's an incredible gift that Hashem gave us, the ability to change the past. Teshuvah is such an important aspect in Judaism that Hachamim tell us that a person who does Teshuvah is at a higher level even than a person who's never sinned. And the example, the story that is brought to illustrate the point, is a king who had a very special type of wine. Wine that was so tasty that if you sipped some of it, it would be very difficult to refrain from continuing drinking. And he called 3 of his subjects and he gave each a bottle of wine. And he told them, come back in 3 days and please do not taste any of the wine. And they go home and they tried to stand the temptation. They come back after 3 days. One finished the whole bottles, get kicked out of the palace. One didn't touch the bottle, it's completely just like the way it was, gets a big price. The third person sipped a little bit of the wine, closed the wine bottle again, as if he was not touched. But the king, noticing that some of it was missing, gives him a bigger price than the first one, or rather the one that didn't taste any of the wine. After they left the palace, the advisors of the king ask him, how come? The one who followed your instruction, you give him a price, but the one who didn't follow, tasted some of it, you gave him a bigger price. And the king tells them, the one who didn't sip the wine, he got a price, but the one who sipped some of it and was able to withstand the temptation to continue drinking deserves a bigger price for his self-control, for his restraint. And therefore, that's why a person who does Teshuvah, in a sense, has more merit than a person who hasn't sinned. And when a person does Teshuvah, there is 2 ways that it could be done. Miyir'ah, out of fear of punishment, consequences that would happen to the person. And the other aspect, to do Teshuvah be'ahava, out of love. Hachamim tell us to do it Teshuvah out of love is at a higher level than doing Teshuvah Miyir'ah. Both are valid. And Teshuvah Miyir'ah is fine too. It restrains a person from doing all those negative commandments. Teshuvah me'ahava can motivate a person to do more mitzvot aseh, more positive commandments. When a person does Teshuvah Miyir'ah, his sins are turned, even those that he didn't intentionally, on purpose, are turned into shgagot, into inadvertent, unintentional sins. But when he does Teshuvah me'ahava, out of love, his sins are turned into merits, zachuyot, merits, because they were a motivating factor to bring him to do Teshuvah. And therefore they were used in a positive way to bring him closer to Hashem. So even those sins are turned into merits. Sfat Emet has an insight. When Hashem created the world, there was an incredible light, a special radiance, a spiritual radiance that filled up the world, but Hashem hid it until the time of coming of Mashiach. He hid it in the Torah. But there is another place where that radiance, that special radiance can be found. Because that light, that special radiance was present on the first Shabbat of Bereshit. So every time we come to Shabbat, there's an incredible potential to connect with that radiant light of spirituality, and an incredible potential to do Teshuvah me'ahava. So if during the week, Sfat Emet says there is more of an inclination to do Teshuvah me'yir'ah, you can do it also during the week me'ahava, but on Shabbat there is a heightened potential to do Teshuvah me'ahava. So as we go into Shabbat this evening, and this one Shabbat before, the one that is the last Shabbat of the year, let's connect with the spirit of Shabbat. Let's do Teshuvah and enjoy that kind of potential that is very special during these days of Elul, these days of Selichot, these days of Teshuvah. And may we merit to do Teshuvah Shelema and to come closer to Hashem in the sense of doing His will always and be'ava, with love and simcha and with joy, and feeling fortunate, how fortunate we are to do the mitzvot that Hashem has given us. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'amen, and Shabbat Shalom.